What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first ever Phaithful Phanatics pregame show and the first ever combined pregame show. That's right. We're breaking down both the Sixers and Flyers games tonight. I'm here with my man George, my man Gint. I'm Dylan Davis. And guys, I'm sure one of the games has a lot higher sense of optimism surrounding it. But let's start with the game that's first on the board tonight, which is Game 3 of the Philadelphia 76ers and Boston Celtics. The Sixers trail in the series 2-0, where they followed up a close Game 1 with an embarrassing and disappointing Game 2 loss. George, how are we feeling about the Sixers' chances tonight, guys?
I want to have a sense of optimism. Yesterday we did our podcast, and it seems like we were all down in the dumps. I woke up today with maybe a little bit better of a feeling. Maybe we can turn this thing around. Maybe some defensive adjustments, take care of the ball a little more, maybe shoot the ball a little decent tonight, and maybe we can squeak out a win. I'm trying to stay optimistic. I want the season to continue.
George, how are you feeling?
Yeah, a little less optimistic than after Game 1. But after that Game 2, it's hard to be optimistic. Like you said, hopefully we can shoot better. Hopefully we get Embiid some more help that he actually really needs. And hopefully we can guard better, really. I mean, just don't want to blow out. We don't want to blow out.
Well, again, you kind of said it. We're called the Faithful Fanatics for a reason. And yes, we're real, and we're realists, but we spend enough time trashing the Sixers on our show last night on the Faithful Fanatics podcast. So even though the odds seem very, very slim at this point, what needs to happen tonight for the Sixers to be successful? So first, let's start on the defensive side of the ball. Again, you and I talk a lot about how bad their pick and roll defense is and how they keep Embiid down low. So Kemba's just they're just pulling up into basically rotation jump shots like they would in practice. And we know they can't guard Boston's wing players, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. So what can they do at least to slow them down or minimize their production tonight? Do you throw – because the defense right now isn't working. Do you throw different zone looks at them? I know that's difficult in the NBA, but you throw some different zone looks at them. Do you guard how can they guard the pick and roll any better?
Yeah, I don't think it's making like one adjustment saying maybe we just bring the big up and we just hedge a screen. I think you got to throw like a lot of different looks at them and just keep them guessing, because right now they're not guessing at all. It's come off the screen, jumper, bang, back on defense. It's just like I said. Yeah, I said it's a rhythm. They're getting in a rhythm. So get them out of a rhythm. Show the big. Make them bounce dribbles, swing the ball away. You got to keep them on their toes. These guys are way too good to just continue to be in a rhythm against us. So that's what I would do. I don't know if zone would be the answer, just because of the way they can shoot the ball from beyond the arc. They have 3 guys that can shoot at a high clip from beyond the arc. So I wouldn't go zone, but I'm not the coach, so I don't know.
You might have to be that, Coach Ginn.
Yeah.
George, what would you do differently on the defensive side?
Yeah, I mean, you got to switch something up. It just, like you said, it just seems like they're in such a good rhythm. They go down the court. It seems like every time they're shooting a 3, it's going in. You got to figure out something. Yeah, I don't know about zone, but I don't know. Like, what's Brett going to do? Like, I really don't know. It's really unpredictable.
He never does the right thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for sure. But hopefully we'll see a different Brett Brown tonight. Yeah, I don't know either. Zone's not really the answer in an NBA game, but again, I think you kind of said it. You have to throw multiple looks at them. You have to make them think about what you're getting into when they come down and cross half court. I guess, like you said, the one thing you can't just rely on it, but the one thing they have to do better is guard the pick and roll, especially against Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker. And having Joel Embiid just guard Enes Kanter or Daniel Tice standing under the bucket doesn't help guarding the pick and roll. So bring Joel up, help him defend. He's a good defender, even though he's 7'2". He can keep up with the guard a little bit. So, I mean, bring him up, throw different looks at them coming around the screen. You cannot – and it's just the issue I have too is I feel like – and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong here. I don't know if I'm watching a different game than you guys. But I feel like every time the on-ball defender goes under the pick, under the screen, they never fight through it to try to get around him and force him to move forward into Embiid. When you go under the screen, it's allowing them more time to just pull up into their jumper.
No, yeah, definitely. You definitely see a lot of the guards going underneath the screens. I think Josh Richardson did well all season, hasn't really done it much this season, was when he guards that are smaller than him, like Kemba Walker, he usually trails a lot of the screens because of how long he is compared to these other guards. He's able to block a lot of their pull-ups or get a tip on some of their pull-ups or make them feel uncomfortable. So that's definitely something I would like to see happen. it's tough with the big bodies that they have. Cantor's a big body, Tyson's a big body. They're setting these screens, so it's not as easy to go through them. Ideally, you would just love to see them get through them, but it's not that simple. Another thing I would like to see is maybe even just try to switch a couple screens. Embiid's not a perimeter defender, but he's more than capable of getting one stop. And maybe not with Cantor in the game as much. Cantor's a pretty good offensive player. He's got good footwork in the post for us to switch a guard on him. But with Daniel Tice in the game, Daniel Tice is not an offensive threat to be reckoned with. I would much rather almost a Daniel Tice post up than a Kemba Walker pull up. So it's like, it's tough to say, like you said, but just keep them uncomfortable. You don't want them to be comfortable.
Well, dude, the other game one when Tice shot two of their first three threes, he hit one, missed the other. I'm like, he's not going to shoot at a high clip whatsoever. It's not Aaron Baines against the Sixers when he played for the Celtics, hitting 5 threes in the series, 6 threes in the series. So if that's how they beat you, then that's how they beat you. But you have to do something differently, guarding the pick and roll, guarding Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba Walker coming around at screen. Because you said it last night, it's just a pull-up jump shot like they do for 60 minutes before the game in practice. But let's stay with on the defensive side of the ball. Look, he played well against Tatum in game one in the little bit of spurts he had. I think he held Tatum in 2 of 7 shooting or whatever his clip was. And I think it was very early you saw he got put in the starting lineup in game 2. And I love the kid, okay? But the project didn't work out well in game 2. And I'm not saying that he should go away from it, definitely, but he was a minus 30 on the night. So should we look for Brett Brown to keep Matisse Thybulle attached to Jason Tatum like he was last game? You know, he starts against Tatum. As soon as Tatum comes out, Matisse is coming out. As soon as Tatum checks back in, Matisse is checking back in. Should we look to see the same thing? Will it work differently this game, or is Jason Tatum just going to keep taking advantage of the rookie?
It's definitely tough to say because realistically you would love to be able to throw multiple bodies at him. But, like, we just don't have multiple bodies to throw at him on the defensive end. Like, besides Thybulle, realistically, like, Tobias Harris, like, we don't have multiple guys to throw at him that can maybe hinder him. Obviously, you'd love Ben Simmons because Ben Simmons would guard him every minute he's in. But we don't have that. So it's like, what do you do? Do you take the hit on the defensive end and you just put Tobias Harris on him, but then you're better offensively with Matisse? Because Matisse, realistically, right now is a one-sided player. He's good on the defensive end. He's not very good on the offensive end. He's getting better on the offensive end. He moves without the ball, probably one of the best on the team. He makes a lot of good cuts, but it's tough. It's really tough to say. I think they still will keep Matisse on him because he's realistically our only option to guard him. So I definitely think he will be the one shadowing him, and I probably would still shadow him. Maybe you bring his minutes down a little bit and go more offensive and try to get in a rhythm, shooting the ball with multiple other guys. So it'll be interesting to see what Brett does.
George? Yeah, this is where losing Ben Simmons really sucks because there's nobody that can slow down Tatum like Ben. And honestly, it's probably got to be Thybulle because who else is going to slow down Tatum like Thybulle on this team? Like nobody. Honestly, yeah, he on the offensive side, it's not great. But on the defensive side, it's kind of where you need a lot of help at, especially with these wing players. So I think he sticks with Matisse. I think Matisse starts and hopefully slows down Tatum.
I just, you brought up our boy, George, so I got to talk about Ben Simmons for a second real quick before we get on to our next point. But for all those people, I heard a couple people before game one say maybe this is a blessing in disguise because how many people in this city, there's a lot that love him, but there's also a lot that want a point guard that will just shoot the ball. It doesn't matter that Ben Simmons does everything else in the game defensively, rebound, facilitate, everything else at a top 5 level. Doesn't matter that he does that. He doesn't shoot the ball. So they want a different point guard in that will at least shoot the ball, right? Well, how's that working out for you in this series against Boston? Shake Milton shoots the ball. Alec Burke shoots the ball. But what's missing?
Yeah, everything. Definitely. I think it's really starting to see like what Ben brings to the table. Like we're turning the ball over a ton without a guy that handles the ball really well. He handles pressure really well. You see Shake gets really uncomfortable when Marcus Smart's guarding him. He's in his chest and he gets a little uncomfortable. But another person we're missing, I think Glenn Robinson III would have been serious for this series. He's another guy for the guard defenders.
You good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. A little muffled for a second.
No, yeah, like I said, Glenn Robinson III, I think would have been like a really good person for this series. He's another good wing player that You could maybe throw one of these guys, but it's just I feel like two of our more important players for this series happen to go down, so it definitely sucks. But yeah, like you said, Ben is clearly needed on this team, not even just in this series, on this team as a whole. I saw someone tweet today that I think it was Jessica Town. She tweeted that she wouldn't trade Ben Simmons for anybody in the NBA right now after this series. And it's like looking like that. Obviously, maybe you trade him for big names, but right now you're showing that you need him. He's huge for this team right now.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone that I would give up for him right now. And I know he doesn't shoot the ball. I get it. But everyone just overlooks every single other aspect of his game that he does at a top 5 level. In my opinion, he was the defensive player of the year. Stan Van Gundy said it the other day. He doesn't have a vote, but if he did, he'd be voting for Ben Simmons as the defensive player of the year. But I guess because he doesn't shoot the ball. But you're seeing how far that gets you right now. Let's move on, keeping it with the offense. Look, I think we all expect Joel Embiid to get his tonight, right? He's going to get 30+. He's going to get 14, 16, 17 rebounds, okay, a steal and a block, whatever. Joel's going to be fine. That hasn't been the issue. What's been the issue is the man you decided to give the max contract to this offseason, who, look, I've stood by him all season long. He's a great person. He's great in the community, and he's been solid on the basketball floor. Okay, you had your 2 stars in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, so even though Tobias was a max player, you didn't need him to be that max player throughout the course of the season, right? But now with no Ben Simmons, it's a wing league. Like, I know how good Joel Embiid is, right? And he can dominate in the low post whenever he wants. But it's a wing player league. Tobias Harris has scored 15 and 13 points in the first 2 playoff games this year against Boston. He looks absolutely terrible and looks like probably the worst max contract offer in the history of max contracts in the National Basketball Association. So, again, I'll start with you first. What Tobias Harris do you expect to see tonight? Not which one do we need, because we know which Tobias Harris we need. But what do you think we're going to get tonight? The max contract, 25, 30, 35-point Tobias Harris, or the 13-point playoff Tobias Harris?
The optimistic side of me really does think he turns it around tonight. He's been a 40% three-point shooter for the last couple seasons. I really think just by the law, it's like he's going to turn it around. He's going to start hitting shots. He's looked a little uncomfortable, and maybe he'll find his way out of this. Like, he'll get in a comfort zone. I assume he'll be back at the 4 again tonight, which is, I think, where he should be. I think he looks most comfortable when he's at the 4. He doesn't have a problem guarding bigger players, which on this team, I guess Grant Williams started last game, right?
No, Marcus Smart did.
Marcus Smart.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, he'll still be guarding a wing player. He'd still be guarding a wing player. So it's like I think we're going to see I think we'll see a good Tobias. I think he's going to knock down some jumpers. I think it'll be good.
George?
Yeah, like the last 2 games, he just looked lost out there. It looked like he was scared to shoot a 3. I don't know what was going on, but the optimist side of me definitely thinks he's going to come back, turn it up tonight. It's not like he's a bad player. We know he's a good shooter. We know he's a good player. It's just, can he figure it out for the series? I don't want him to go 3 games shooting like shit and looking terrible, but who knows? I mean, I guess we'll find out. But I'm going with, I think he turns it back up tonight.
Optimism, I love it. But again, hold on real quick before we get off Tobias Harris, because he had trouble finishing around the rim in game 2 also. So what's more important starting tonight for you to see? Tobias Harris getting around the rim, finishing around the rim, and then working his way outside, or hitting an early 3 or 2?
I think he's got to hit jump shots. I think everyone not named Joel Embiid tonight has to hit jump shots. We need to be able to not have them throw 2-3 guys at Joel every single time he touches the ball. So like I said, I think every single person not named Joel Embiid needs to hit shots immediately tonight and just get Boston's defense thinking. They were so comfortable last game throwing 2 or 3 guys at him every single time he touched the ball because we shot terrible. So I think everyone needs to hit shots tonight, especially Tobias Harris.
So, look, I hate to bring up his name, but with you just saying that, does that mean –
No.
I had to ask. I hope not. But
wait, you're saying Neto, right?
No.
Oh,
Saying Furcon.
Okay, I thought you were saying Neto too.
No, I think Furkan's almost unplayable in this series for the sole reason the defensive end. Maybe you could hide him on Marcus Smart for a couple possessions. Maybe he can get you a couple shots, but I think Neto and Korkmaz are both unplayable.
You couldn't hide Korkmaz on you.
Yeah, well, I'm better than a lot of the players on the Celtics. So.
All right, moving on. Before we get to our final predictions, look, like we just referenced, we know what we're going to get out of Joel Embiid. So besides Embiid giving you around 30 plus, we just mentioned Tobias Harris. So maybe let's leave him out of the equation here. Outside of him and maybe Toby, where do you see the offensive production coming from tonight if the Sixers are going to be successful against Boston?
I'm going to go with the two guards, Alec Burks. I'm going to not just two guards, Alec Burks and Josh Richardson. Richardson's played really well. He's averaging, like, what did we say yesterday? Like almost 18 points a game probably in this series.
I think he had 18 in both.
Yeah, I'd probably go – I think Josh Richardson. I think Alec Burks. I think Alec Burks playing with a little bit of chip on his shoulder after the whole Raul Neto fiasco the other night. And even Shake Milton, it's all the guards. They have to produce tonight, and I truthfully think they do. Shake Milton hit a couple shots early last game, then didn't really see the floor.
Yeah,
he couldn't get in his rhythm. So I think all three of those guards are huge for tonight, and I think they'll produce, which could reel us to a W.
George, where's the scoring got to come from?
I'm on the Burks and Shake train because in the beginning of last game, like Shake looked good. He was hitting turnaround jumpers. He was looking really good and
early three.
Yeah, exactly. So if he can make his shots, if he can shoot for a good percentage, that's huge for us. And like you said, Alec Burks probably has a chip on his shoulder after he was being praised by Brett and then just not really played. So what do you have, 18 in the first game probably? I think?
Burks, 18 or 19.
Yeah, so if he shoots like that again, I think we have a really good shot at winning this game.
All right, so it's time for final predictions for tonight, boys. I'll start it off with this one. To me, it comes down to one question. Did they give up on their head coach? Because that was the question after game 2. I'm hopeful that they pull out a win and they turn a series around. And we just talked about everything that they need to do. I just think it's very unlikely that it happens. I think they gave up on Brett Brown. I think Brett Brown's out of here after this quick series. So I'm going to say Boston wins by 10.
Exactly.
But I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong.
That was exactly my prediction.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that I wanted this season to extend. Really, it's going to be loose tonight. The season's over. No one's going to come back from a 3-0, especially not with the roster and coach that we have. But I am going to say that I do think the Sixers are going to win tonight. I do. I think it's going to be close, but it's probably like the 7-9 range after maybe some foul shots at the end of the game. But I think Embiid's the best player on the floor. And this is a game where the best player on the floor is going to get you a win. So I think the Sixers are going to win tonight.
Brett, please.
Yeah.
Need Joel the ball. Toby, please look like somewhat of a max player.
That's it.
And play who's hot. If Shake comes out of the gate and gets you 5 quick points, looks good, don't take Shake out of the game for 8 minutes. If Alec Burks comes off the bench and gives you 5 or 6 real quick, leave Alec Burks in the game for a run. And also, when you go on a run, don't call a timeout. And if Boston's going on a run, please call a timeout before it hits the double-digit mark of that run. And maybe the Sixers have a chance to make the series a little bit closer. Yeah. So, with all that being said, let's switch gears to the orange and black, the team with a lot more optimism surrounding them, even though they're coming off a loss. George, I'll start with kind of the biggest topic going around with the Flyers right now. Brendan Gallagher is out for the rest of the series against the Flyers with a broken jaw. He's going to need surgery. But that also means Matt Niskanen is out for only one game, luckily. So if this did go 7, he'll be back for game 7. But he's out for tonight's game. How big of a loss is Matt Niskanen in tonight's game? Now Shane Gostisbehere has to come in. He's not quite the defensive defenseman that Matt Niskanen is, but he's a better offensive defenseman. So how will that favor or not favor the Flyers tonight?
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked that Niskanen only got one game, honestly, because the Canadiens were really pushing to get him out that whole series. But getting Niskanen out it's a bummer just because he is a first-line D-pair man, and you're going to have to switch it all up now. Putting Ghost in, I'm not too worried about it. I think it's good that we have depth and we have a guy that could produce at any given game. Hopefully he limits the turnovers. Hopefully he plays just his style of hockey. If he can be a good offensive threat tonight too, along with being just a decent defender, like that would be big for us. It sucks losing Niskanen. He is the veteran. He is on that one pair line, but I'm not super worried about it. Niskanen didn't really light the world on fire this series, so maybe Ghost will do something. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not too worried though.
I did see a stat earlier that said Ghost has, it's either this year or whatever. He has his most points against the Canadiens, or in the least amount of games, whatever the stat was. But it was a promising stat. The issue is Ghost and Braun can't be paired together.
No.
I think that's what was seen in game 1 and 2 when he played. So what do you do there? Do you put Ghost with Provorov? What do? You just swap out Niskanen for Ghost? Is that what you do? Or because I don't really think you can break up Sanheim and Myers. I don't really think you want to break those two up. So then the question becomes, do you put Hague and Provorov, or Hague and Ghost, or Provorov and Ghost?
Yeah, I don't expect Ghost to be on that top pair, but it's going to be tough. I'm really interested to see what AV does with it because there's so many options. I don't see Ghost on the first pair line. I probably like Provorov and Hague would be a move because then you keep.
But then that's Ghost and Braun, and
I know. It's tough because I really don't want to break up that Sanheim Myers. So yeah, it's going to be tough. But realistically, Ghost could be on the first pair line, but it really depends on what AV wants to do and what he's thinking. I'm excited to see those. I'm excited to see what happens when that comes out.
All right, moving on. AV always has his teams ready to go after a loss. We talked about it last night. The Flyers haven't lost back-to-back games since early January. I think January 8th was the last time. And he keeps mentioning this team's leadership. Should we expect to see guys like Sean Couturier, Claude Giroux, Kevin Hayes, maybe even a Travis Konechny step up tonight and close this one out and put the Canadiens away?
Definitely. It seems like the Flyers are going to go out there with a chip on their shoulder, especially with all those antics that were happening with Hart last game, getting tapped on the head and all that. And AV's been pretty vocal about the Gallagher situation and everything. I feel like everyone's going to be fired up. And if we want to win this game, we need production out of our top six. That's just how it is. If we don't get production out of our top six, it's going to be really hard to win this game.
Gint, any comments there?
No, I definitely agree. Your best players have to produce in a playoff series. So you definitely, especially in an important game like this, we mentioned yesterday, you as a top seed, you never want to play a Game 7. Anything can happen in a Game 7. So you definitely you want to get them out tonight.
Yeah, you don't want to play Game 7, especially when you had a 3-1 series lead.
Exactly.
Let's move on to the most important piece, right? Let's assume the defense picks it up because we talked about that last night about how in the 2 losses, the defense was kind of more of the issue than the goaltender. Dan, I'll start with you then, George. Will Carter Hart have a bounce-back night? Because after being pulled in Game 2, he answered with back-to-back shutouts for 120 minutes. So how will he respond after giving up 4 more on Wednesday night's loss?
Yeah, I definitely think he'll bounce back. Like we mentioned, we've mentioned it multiple times. They haven't lost back-to-back games since January 8th. The defense is going to play better because they have to play better to win. Because I see them winning this game tonight. Spoiler alert for our final predictions, but I think they will win the game tonight. So I think Carter Hart will have a good game. A 0-1 goal. We'll probably go behind him, maybe 1 goal. But that's what I got.
George?
Yeah, we mentioned it yesterday, but like every time Carter Hart has an off game, he watches what he does, he fixes his mechanics perfectly, and he bounces back with a vengeance. So tonight, Carter Hart is going to be Carter Hart. That's fully what I expect. I don't expect the 5-0 game. I don't expect this last game with 5 goals. I'm ready to see Carter Hart play like Carter Hart. Like he's going to bounce back. He's going to fix his mechanics, and he's going to be perfect tonight. And we're going to win, and it's going to happen.
All right, well, let's
get into existence.
Before we get to our predictions, one last point. The series is getting very chippy. Georgie brought up earlier. I said we would get to it, and we're about to. Game 5 ended with a pile-up at the end. AV said there's no love lost on the ice between these two teams. Each coach has made comments about the Gallagher injury. AV, what did he say today? He doesn't really know how his jaw could be broken because he got up and his mouth didn't shut up.
For 5 minutes.
Oh, and like you said, let's not forget about the head taps on Carter Hart. Suzuki came out and said, he's a great goaltender. He didn't really know. It was just a light tap, like blah, blah. Kevin Hayes came out and said it's immature. There's a lot of tension building up. It's getting very, very chippy out in the ice. So What type of game should we expect to see tonight? And will it favor the Flyers being more physical? George, we'll start with you.
Yeah, we're going to see a chippy game tonight, no doubt. I think it's going to be hard hitting. I think it's going to, from the jump, it's going to be physicality. Like, it's game 6, Canadiens have to win. We don't want to lose. AV is going to have everyone fired up. It's going to be a fun game, but definitely going to be chippy. Refs are probably going to swallow the whistle a little bit, let some shit go because it's going to be that physical. But I think it could favor us, especially if NAK is in the lineup. Like, that's just another big body that is probably one of our best forecheckers on the team.
Yeah, the lines haven't come out yet, right?
No, not yet. Yeah, it's very secretive. Usually comes out like late. Yeah, but I'm excited. I really do think it'll be physical. I think physicality can favor us. We have a lot of guys that can throw their body around. And, yeah, hopefully NAK is available, and that would just be a big boost for us.
Shea Weber better end up in the box tonight.
He's better.
Who gets away with murder?
Dylan hates Shea Weber.
He literally tried to rip Kevin Hayes' body off of his necklet, off of his shoulders last game.
Shout out the Predators for matching our offer sheet.
Seriously. Maybe if he's on the Flyers, I would like him. Final predictions. You guys both said win. I'm going win. I'm a lot more optimistic on this team. I think this team has what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. Again, you alluded to it. You can't. I don't want to see Game 7. I don't even want to see Game 6 just because that's the kind of fan I am. I'm nervous as shit, even though I'm confident in them. I'm predicting 4-2, 3-2 with an empty net goal at the end. The Flyers have to come out, control the puck. Where I know Montreal sits back and it's very hard to get into their zone. There's a lot of play in the neutral zone. You have to find a way to gain entry into their zone and set up your offense from that point. You have to get shots on Carey Price, get bodies in front of him, take his eyes away, get deflection. You're not going to score that Sanheim goal that you got in game. What was it? Game 4. You're not going to see that tonight against Carey Price, knowing the season's
the Myers goal, the one that like slipped.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not going to see any of those tonight against them. You have to get bodies in front of them. Hopefully, the power play keeps working like it was last game. And yeah, you're going to see a chippy game. You have to keep your cool though. No for a check. You cannot connect me. No stupid penalties. No going on the penalty kill. So come out strong. Come out fast. Don't let them bring the fight to you because if they do, we've seen what happened in Game 2 where they hit the gas pedal and they never let go. They never took their foot off of it. So that's it for the first ever Phaithful Phanatics pregame show. Let's go Sixers. Let's go Flyers. Follow us on Twitter @FaithfulFans. We'll be back next Thursday with our next podcast. Have a nice night, guys.
Go Flyers. Go.